The rain fell in relentless sheets that evening, pounding against the windows of my small living room. The dim light of the single lamp flickered, as if protesting against the darkness creeping into every corner. I sat stiffly on the worn armchair, clutching the photograph of my grandson, Aarav. His bright smile stared back at me, mocking me, reminding me of how abruptly he had vanished 3 days ago. I had called every neighbor, the local police, and even checked hospitals, but there was no sign of him. And then, there she was. She appeared at my doorstep like a shadow slipping through the rain. My late daughter's best friend, Mira, who had always been close to Aarav, stood there, soaked to the bone. But there was something in her eyes, something I had never seen before. Fear, regret, or guilt? I barely managed to ask the question that had haunted me for days. Aarav, where is he? Her lips trembled. Her eyes darted to the side, as if expecting someone to appear behind me. Then, slowly, she whispered, "You'll never see him again." Her words froze me, lodged deep in my chest like an icy dagger. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but she was already turning to leave. I caught her hand, desperate. "Mira, wait, what do you mean? Where is he?" She stopped, slowly turning back, her gaze piercing through the rain. "You don't understand. It's not safe. If you try to find him, you'll regret it." Something about her tone, the urgency, the fear, it felt like the edge of a nightmare I hadn't yet imagined, and yet I couldn't let it go. That night, I barely slept. I paced the narrow corridors of my home, imagining every possible scenario. Was Aarav kidnapped? Or had something more sinister happened? The thought that I might never see his bright, mischievous eyes again gnawed at me, eroding my sanity piece by piece. At dawn, I decided to act. I couldn't sit idly by. I had to find him. But the moment I stepped outside, I noticed something strange. A small, folded piece of paper tucked under the welcome mat. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. "Follow the shadows where the light fears to tread. Trust no one, not even her." The handwriting was familiar. It was Aarav's. I froze. How could he write this? He's just 7. The rain blurred my vision as tears mixed with the droplets on my face. The first clue, and yet, the first trap. I knew that from experience. The city, our home, even the people I trusted, the line between friend and foe had blurred. Somewhere, hidden in plain sight, was the truth. And I was the only one foolish or desperate enough to pursue it. The note in my hand felt like a living thing, pulsing with a silent urgency. I stared at the familiar scrawl over and over, trying to convince myself it wasn't a cruel trick. But the handwriting so small, so precise, was unmistakably Aarav's. My grandson, my boy, was trying to tell me something. I wrapped my coat tighter around me and stepped into the damp gray streets. The city was waking slowly. Shopkeepers were opening their doors. The scent of wet asphalt mingled with street food, and the occasional vehicle splashed water across the sidewalks. But none of it mattered. Every step I took was guided by a single thought: I will find him. The first stop, I decided, was Aarav's school. Perhaps the teachers had noticed something, or maybe he had left another clue there. The moment I entered the empty hallway, I noticed the faint scratch marks on the classroom door, something that hadn't been there yesterday. My heart thudded painfully in my chest. Inside, the classroom was empty, but something caught my eye, a crumpled origami crane on the teacher's desk. I picked it up. Folded inside was another message, written in Aarav's childish handwriting. "The one who smiles when it rains is not what it seems. Look behind the colors of the sky." I frowned, turning the paper in my hand. It was cryptic, almost nonsensical, yet it resonated with a strange sense of urgency. What did he mean? Who was the one who smiled when it rained? And what were the colors of the sky? A voice startled me. "Looking for something?" I turned sharply. It was Mrs. Kapoor, Aarav's art teacher. She was holding a palette smeared with wet paint, her eyes filled with concern. "Yes, it's my grandson. He's missing. Have you seen him?" I asked, my voice breaking. She shook her head slowly. I don't know, but he left something behind yesterday. He was acting strangely, drawing constantly, and hiding sketches under the tables. I didn't think much of it at the time. She handed me a small stack of drawings. On the first sheet was a picture of a playground, but it was not ordinary. Shadowy figures were hiding behind slides and swings, their faces obscured by dark hoods. On the next page, Aarav had drawn a clock tower, but the time was always 11:17. Each sketch carried the same pattern, a small figure running, always in the rain, always toward an unknown destination. I felt a chill run down my spine. These weren't mere drawings. They were breadcrumbs, a path that Aarav had left for me to follow. But why so cryptic? And who had he been trying to warn me about? As I left the school, the rain had stopped, leaving puddles that mirrored the cloudy sky. I couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. Every alley, every shadow seemed to hide someone or something waiting for me to make a mistake. Then I saw it. A figure standing across the street, under the dim glow of a broken street lamp. She was drenched, her face obscured by the hood of her coat. She held a small, wriggling bundle close to her chest. My heart leapt. Could it be Aarav? I ran toward her, shouting his name. But as I approached, she turned suddenly, revealing a face I never expected. It was not a stranger, but a woman I had seen before Mira's older sister, Naina. "You shouldn't be here," she hissed, her eyes darting nervously. "It's too dangerous." I stopped in my tracks. Dangerous? For whom? Where is he? Naina took a step back, holding out her hand as if to stop me. "If you follow me, there's no turning back. The people who took him, they don't forgive, and they're closer than you think." My mind spun. The puzzle was getting more sinister. The clues, the messages, the cryptic warnings, it wasn't just a child's disappearance. This was something larger, something darker, and I was plunging headfirst into it. "I don't care," I said, my voice shaking but resolute. "I will find him, no matter what it takes." Naina's face softened, just for a moment. Then she nodded and whispered, "Follow me. But stay quiet and keep your eyes open. The shadows are not what they seem." As we slipped into the labyrinthine alleys of the city, I couldn't help but feel a growing dread. Every step brought us closer to the truth, but also closer to danger. And in the back of my mind, a terrifying thought gnawed at me. What if Aarav's warnings were not for me, but for someone else entirely? The alley we entered was narrow and suffocating. Broken windows, graffiti-stained walls, and puddles reflecting flickering streetlights made the place feel like a forgotten corner of the world. Every step echoed, yet the city's usual hum was absent, as though we had crossed into another realm. Naina led silently, moving with a precision that told me she had done this before. I tried to follow closely but cautiously, aware that even a single misstep could alert whoever was watching. Finally, we reached a hidden doorway, almost invisible behind a pile of crates. Naina pulled a small key from her coat pocket and unlocked it. The door creaked open, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. "Stay behind me," she whispered. I obeyed, my heart hammering. The air grew colder with each step. I could hear the faint drip of water somewhere below, and the metallic tang of rust filled my nostrils. Then, at the bottom, we entered a dimly lit basement. The walls were lined with old furniture, boxes, and shelves filled with objects I couldn't immediately identify. Naina's voice broke the silence. "You need to understand what we're dealing with. It's bigger than a missing child." Aarav stumbled onto something he shouldn't have, something that others want to keep hidden. I frowned. "What do you mean? Who would want to take him?" She hesitated, then spoke in a low, urgent tone. "There's a group, they call themselves the Veil. They manipulate things from the shadows, people who disappear, secrets that never see the light." Aarav saw something he shouldn't have, and now he's a target. A cold shiver ran down my spine. The Veil. The name alone sounded ominous, like a dark force moving unseen, swallowing lives in silence. I had heard rumors, whispers of them, but never thought they were real. Naina handed me another crumpled note, identical to the one I had found at home. It was again in Aarav's handwriting. "Follow the red thread. Trust only the echoes of truth. The one you love is closer than the shadows." "Red thread?" I murmured. "What does it mean?" Naina's eyes darted around the basement. "It's symbolic. Aarav always loved puzzles. He must have left a trail for you. But it's not easy. The Veil notices everything. I felt panic rising, but I forced myself to think. Aarav's intelligence had always been remarkable. If he left these clues, he believed someone me could follow them. I clenched my fists, a mixture of fear and determination flooding me. Suddenly, a faint sound echoed from above, a metallic scrape, a soft whisper. Both of us froze. Naina gestured toward the far corner of the basement, where a narrow window let in the faint glow of the streetlight. "They're close," she said, voice barely audible. "We have to move." As we ascended another set of stairs leading to an abandoned warehouse, Naina revealed more of what she knew. The Veil doesn't just take children. They experiment, manipulate. And Aarav saw their plans, something that could expose them. That's why they took him, and that's why they will stop anyone who follows. I swallowed hard. My mind raced. How could a child see something so dangerous? What could he have discovered that put him in such peril? At the warehouse, the smell of oil, dust, and damp wood filled my senses. There, scattered across the floor, were dozens of objects tied together with a thin red string. Red thread. Aarav's first breadcrumb. I bent down, tracing the thread. It led to a pile of crates in the corner. With trembling hands, I lifted a wooden box, and inside, I found something that made my blood run cold. Photographs. Pictures of Aarav, taken without his knowledge, at school, at the park, even in our home. Someone had been watching him for weeks, and then one photograph stood out. Aarav, standing beside a shadowy figure, the child smiling as if he trusted them, but the figure's face was obscured, hidden in darkness. A surge of panic hit me. Was it someone he knew? Someone pretending to be safe? Naina noticed my gaze. That's why the notes, the puzzles. He's trying to tell you who to trust and who not to. You have to follow the thread carefully. Every clue matters. And in that instant, I realized the true danger wasn't just finding Aarav, it was discovering who had betrayed him. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from above. Someone or something was breaking into the warehouse. Shadows moved along the walls. Naina grabbed my arm. "We need to hide, now!" We ducked behind the crates, hearts pounding. Through the slats, I could see figures entering. Tall, silent, their faces hidden by masks. They scanned the room methodically, and my stomach churned with terror. One of them stopped near the red thread. They reached down, trying to pull it. My blood froze. If they find the thread, they'll erase every clue Aarav left. I had to act. Slowly, I edged closer, whispering to Naina, "We can't let them take it. Aarav's life depends on it." She nodded. "I have a plan, but it's risky. Follow my lead." The plan, she explained in hushed tones, involved creating a distraction with old crates, giving us just enough time to escape with the red thread. My pulse raced, but I knew there was no choice. Aarav's life, his very existence, depended on us getting this right. As we set the plan in motion, I realized the first twist in this terrifying puzzle. Someone I had trusted implicitly might not be what they seemed. And Aarav knew it. That was why he left the notes. That was why he disappeared. The shadowy figures drew closer. Time was slipping away. And in the back of my mind, one thought screamed louder than all fear. I cannot fail him. We crouched behind the crates, barely daring to breathe. The masked figures moved deliberately, their boots scraping against the cold concrete floor. Every second stretched into eternity, each heartbeat loud enough to echo in my ears. Naina whispered, "When I give the signal, push the crates over. It'll create just enough noise to distract them. Then we follow the thread." I nodded, gripping the red string tightly. Aarav's message seemed more urgent than ever. Each twist of the thread was like a pulse of hope, guiding me through the dark maze of fear. Suddenly, one of the figures reached for the red thread. My stomach dropped. This was it if they touched it. Aarav's trail would vanish, and with it, any chance of finding him. Naina tapped my shoulder. "Now!" With a surge of adrenaline, we toppled the crates with all our strength. They crashed loudly, scattering papers, glass, and rusted tools across the floor. The masked intruders turned toward the noise, shouting, confused. We didn't wait. Following the red thread, we ran toward a narrow back corridor, the dim light barely illuminating our path. My legs burned. My lungs screamed for air, but the thought of Aarav propelled me forward. As we ran, Naina spoke urgently. The thread will lead us to a safe point, a place he has prepared. But listen carefully. There are traps along the way. The veil thinks of everything. They anticipate movement, fear, hesitation. I swallowed my fear. I don't have a choice. I have to trust Aarav and Naina. The thread led us through a series of old warehouses, abandoned factories, and silent streets. At each turn, we encountered signs, subtle marks on walls, small objects left in odd places, and cryptic symbols that Naina explained were all part of Aarav's puzzle. Finally, we reached a small, seemingly abandoned building at the edge of the city. The red thread ended at the door handle, tied in a small knot. Naina gently untied it and pushed the door open. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the faint smell of old wood. But in the center of the room stood a small table, and on it, a single envelope, addressed to me. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside was another note, written in Aarav's careful handwriting. If you're reading this, you've survived the first test. But be careful, someone close to you is not who they seem. Trust your instincts. Follow the next clue. Time is running out. My heart raced. Someone close to me? Could it be a friend, a neighbor, even family? The realization made my skin crawl. Suddenly, a sound behind us, a door creaking slowly. We turned, and one of the masked figures emerged from the shadows, blocking our only exit. Naina's eyes narrowed. They found us. We have to think fast. The figure stepped closer, a gloved hand reaching out, and then, unexpectedly, it removed the mask, revealing a face I recognized, someone I had trusted completely. I froze. The betrayal was almost too much to comprehend. My mind raced. Why? How could they be working with the veil? The person smiled, cold and deliberate. You didn't think it would be that easy, did you? Aarav knew someone would come for him, but he underestimated how fast you'd move. And now, you're in my hands. Naina moved in front of me, protective. You won't take us. Not today. The masked figure laughed softly. Oh, I already have. But don't worry. The real challenge is just beginning. Follow the thread if you dare, but remember, every clue brings you closer to truth and danger. With that, they stepped back, disappearing into the shadows as suddenly as they had appeared. I sank to the floor, breathing heavily. Naina knelt beside me, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder. This is bigger than we imagined. But Aarav's trail is still here. The thread? It never lies. We follow it, no matter what. I looked at the red string in my hands, realizing the gravity of the journey ahead. The first confrontation had left me shaken, but it had also awakened something fierce inside me. A determination to find Aarav, uncover the truth, and confront whoever had betrayed us. And in the quiet of that abandoned building, a chilling thought settled over me. The next clue could be the most dangerous one yet, and it may reveal a truth I'm not ready to face. The room felt colder than before, as if the shadows themselves were watching us. I clutched the red thread tightly, trying to ground myself. Naina was scanning the corners, alert for any movement, any sign that the masked figure might return. We can't stay here, she whispered. They'll circle back. We need the next clue. I unfolded Aarav's note again. The words echoed in my mind. Follow the next clue. Time is running out. The envelope also contained a small key, old and rusted, with strange symbols etched into its surface. Naina tilted her head, inspecting it. This key? It's not ordinary. It has a lock somewhere, probably nearby. Aarav wants us to find it quickly. Look for anything unusual, she said. We moved cautiously through the building, searching each dusty corner, every cobwebbed shelf. Finally, in a small hidden alcove behind a broken shelf, we found a locked box with a pattern that matched the key exactly. I inserted the key, and it turned with a faint click. Inside was a small device, a recorder. My hands trembled as I pressed play. Aarav's voice came through, strained and urgent. If you're listening to this, it means you've passed the first test. But beware, someone very close to you is part of the veil. They've been watching, waiting for you to make a mistake. The next clue is hidden in the place you least expect. Follow the red thread, but don't trust anyone blindly. The recording stopped abruptly. leaving only silence. Naina's eyes were sharp. This is escalating faster than we thought. They want to see if you can survive the next trap. And I have a bad feeling it's not just physical danger this time. It's personal. We stepped outside into the night, the city streets empty and quiet. The red thread led us through narrow alleys, across abandoned playgrounds, and finally to an old, crumbling library that had long been closed to the public. The library doors were heavy, rusted shut, but the thread slipped under the gap at the bottom, beckoning us inside. The moment we entered, I felt it a strange, oppressive energy. The air smelled of old paper, dust, and something metallic. Naina's hand tightened around mine. "The thread ends here," she said softly. "Look carefully. There's a trap." We explored the library, the dim light casting long shadows that seemed to move on their own. Then, in the back corner, I saw it. Another envelope, tied with a tiny piece of the red thread. But this time, it was suspended over a pressure plate. I froze. "It's a trap," I whispered. Naina nodded. "Step lightly. We can't trigger it." With careful movements, we reached the envelope. I grabbed it, and the plate didn't activate. But before we could breathe, a hidden door swung open, and more masked figures surrounded us. One of them stepped forward, removing the mask. My heart skipped a beat. It was another person I had trusted completely. A teacher from school, someone who had always seemed kind and protective. "You're persistent," they said, a cruel smile twisting their lips. "But persistence alone won't save him. Or you." Henhebid! I felt a surge of anger and betrayal. How many of the people around me were part of this? How deep did the veil's infiltration go? Naina stepped in front of me again. "We can do this. We have the thread, and we have Aarav's clues. Think, what's the next step?" I looked at the envelope in my hands. The red thread led upward, toward the ceiling, into a narrow gap above the library shelves. It was dangerous, but it was the only path forward. "Follow the thread," I said, voice steady, despite the fear clawing at me. Naina nodded, helping me climb. The gap led us into a hidden passage above the library stacks. Dust rained down, and every step felt like it could be our last. Then, halfway through, the thread ended abruptly. My stomach dropped. We were trapped in the dark, with no clue, no idea where Aarav might be. And then I saw a small, glowing symbol etched into the wall. A riddle written in a language only Aarav could have used. "To find me, you must confront the shadow within. Only then will the path reveal itself." I swallowed hard. Confront the shadow within. Was this a warning? A puzzle? Or something darker? Naina looked at me, her eyes reflecting the faint glow of the symbol. "It's psychological. We need to face ourselves, or someone else is going to manipulate our fears against us." I nodded, feeling the weight of the journey. Every step, every clue, every betrayal had led us here. The truth about Aarav, about the veil, about the people I trusted, it was all about to be revealed. But deep inside, I knew one thing. I couldn't turn back. Not now, not ever. And in the suffocating darkness of the hidden passage, I realized that the next trap wouldn't just test my courage, it would test my very soul. The passage was narrow, the walls closing in, shadows twisting like living creatures. The glow from Aarav's symbol reflected off the damp stone, casting eerie shapes across our faces. Naina's grip on my hand was firm, but I could feel her tension. We weren't just physically trapped, we were on the edge of something far more dangerous. "Confront the shadow within," I whispered, echoing the riddle. "What does it even mean?" Naina's eyes narrowed. "It means, whatever you fear most will appear. It's psychological. Aarav knew the veil would use it against you. We need to stay calm." I took a deep breath and tried to steady my racing heart. My mind immediately went to Aarav. Was he hurt? Was he even alive? Every thought about losing him tightened the knot in my chest. Suddenly, the walls seemed to ripple. A faint whisper echoed through the passage. "You failed. You couldn't protect him." I froze. The voice? It sounded like mine. My own fears were manifesting, whispering doubts, accusing me. Naina pulled me forward. "Ignore it. It's a trap. Don't let it control you." The shadows grew darker, shapes forming into figures from my past. Faces of people I had trusted, moments of guilt and shame, all twisted into distorted, mocking versions. One figure stepped closer. It was me, but with cold, lifeless eyes. "You can't save him," the shadow whispered. "You're weak. You've always been weak." I felt a surge of anger. "No!" I shouted, and the sound echoed through the passage like a defiance against the darkness. "I am not weak. I will find Aarav, no matter what it takes." The shadow faltered, its form wavering like mist. Naina stepped beside me, whispering, "Focus on the thread. The thread is real. It will guide you." I looked down at the red thread, glowing faintly, and realized it wasn't just a guide. It was a lifeline. With renewed determination, I followed it further into the passage, leaving the shadows behind. At the end of the corridor, a heavy door blocked our path. The red thread disappeared into a tiny keyhole. I inserted the key from Aarav's previous clue, and it turned smoothly. The door creaked open to reveal a small room bathed in a dim, eerie light. And there he was, Aarav. But he wasn't alone. Aarav was tied to a chair, bruised, but conscious. Behind him, the leader of the Veil stood a tall figure in a dark cloak, face hidden. "So, you've made it this far," the figure said. "Impressive, but the final test awaits." I froze. "What do you want from us?" The leader stepped forward, removing the hood. My breath caught. It was someone I never suspected, someone who had been helping us all along. The betrayal was complete. "You thought you could outsmart the Veil," the figure said, voice cold. "But Aarav is only the beginning. If you truly want him back, you must make a choice. Sacrifice your deepest secret or lose him forever." I looked at Aarav, his eyes pleading. The shadows, the fears, the betrayals, they all converged in this single, horrifying moment. Naina whispered, "Whatever it is, it's personal. They're using your past, your guilt, against you." I realized the truth. To save Aarav, I would have to reveal something no one could ever know, something that could change everything about who I am. The red thread pulsed faintly, almost as if urging me onward. I took a deep breath. "I'll do it," I said, my voice trembling but resolute. "Whatever it takes. Aarav, I won't leave you behind." The leader smiled coldly. "Then step forward and face your shadow fully." The room seemed to shift. The walls melted into darkness, and I was alone, with my past, my regrets, my failures manifesting as grotesque figures surrounding me. Every secret I had buried, every moment I had feared revealing, pressed down on me like a crushing weight. And then I heard Aarav's voice, faint but real, calling my name. "I believe in you. Don't give in." With Naina by my side, I faced the shadow. I acknowledged every fear, every guilt, every mistake, and most importantly, I refused to let it define me. The shadow screamed, twisted, and then dissolved. The room returned to its dim light. The leader of the Veil staggered back, clearly unsettled. "You survived," the figure hissed. "No one has ever confronted their shadow and lived. This isn't over." I rushed to Aarav, cutting the ropes. His eyes were wide with relief. You made it," he whispered. I helped him up. "We're not done yet, but we're together." The red thread glowed brighter, leading us toward a final exit, a path out of the darkness, and hopefully, out of the Veil's reach. But deep down, I knew the leader's words were true. This wasn't over. The Veil would come again. And next time, the test might not be just about fear. It might be about everything we love. The corridor stretched endlessly before us, but the red thread glowed brighter than ever, pulsing like a heartbeat guiding our steps. Aarav leaned on me, bruises darkening his skin, yet determination in his eyes. Naina walked beside us, silent but vigilant. Every shadow along the walls seemed to watch us, whispering threats that made the hair on my neck stand on end. "We're close," Naina said, voice low. "The final chamber, it's just ahead. Whatever's waiting there, it's the core of the Veil." I swallowed hard. My hands trembled slightly, not from fear but from anticipation. The truth about the leader's identity still burned in my mind. Someone I trusted had been manipulating everything, and now they had drawn us into their ultimate trap. The corridor ended abruptly at a massive iron door. Symbols of twisted geometry were etched into it, glowing faintly. The red thread disappeared into the carvings. I pressed my hand against the door, and it swung open silently, revealing a cavernous room bathed in a cold, blue light. At the center stood a massive machine, gears turning, wires pulsing with energy. And there, suspended above it, was a cage, Aarav's cage. His eyes widened when he saw us, hope flickering amidst the pain. But the figure who had betrayed us stepped forward, a cruel smile on their face. "Welcome," they said, voice echoing. "You've survived everything, but this is where your choices truly matter." "What do you want?" I demanded, fists clenched. "Why all of this?" The figure tilted their head. "Power, knowledge, control, but more importantly, to see if you could truly overcome yourselves. Every test, every fear, was leading to this moment. And now, one final choice awaits." The machine roared to life, and I saw the true horror. It wasn't just a trap for Aarav. The device was siphoning energy from his very life force. If it completed its cycle, he would not survive. Naina's voice was urgent. "We have to stop it." "But the machine, it's linked to the leader. You'll need to break their control." I glanced at Aarav, fear, but also trust, in his eyes. "I'll do anything," I whispered, determination hardening. "Just hold on, Aarav." The leader raised their hands, controlling the machine remotely. Shadows swirled around them, merging with the mechanical arms of the device. "To save him, you must sacrifice something you hold dear," they said. "Reveal your deepest truth, or he dies." My heart pounded. All the secrets I had kept hidden, every betrayal I had feared exposing, surged to the surface. But for Aarav, I had no choice. "I'll tell you everything," I said, voice firm. "No lies, no hiding. Just let him go." The leader's eyes narrowed. "Do it." I began recounting my most guarded secrets, my failures, the moments of weakness I had buried for years. With each revelation, the machine trembled. The shadows wavered, and the leader's control weakened. The room seemed to pulse with energy, as if my honesty was disrupting the dark force that bound Aarav. Finally, with one last truth spoken aloud, the machine shuddered violently, sparks flying, and the shadows screamed. Aarav fell to the floor, free from the cage. I grabbed him, holding him tightly as he gasped for air. The leader screamed, a sound of pure fury. The shadows disintegrated. The machine exploded in a brilliant flash, and the chamber collapsed around us. Dust filled the air, and for a moment, I feared we wouldn't escape. But Naina guided us through a hidden passage she had noticed earlier. We ran, dodging falling debris, until finally, we burst into the open air. The night sky stretched above us, stars glittering like distant witnesses to our ordeal. Aarav collapsed into my arms, exhausted but alive. "You saved me," he whispered, voice trembling. I smiled weakly. We saved each other. That's what matters. Naina looked at us, relief in her eyes. "The veil is broken, for now. But be careful. Shadows never disappear completely." I held Aarav tightly, feeling the weight of everything we had endured. Betrayal, fear, loss, but also love, courage, and resilience. The world felt different now, fragile, yet full of possibilities. And in the distance, I swore I saw a faint glow, a remnant of the veil, waiting, watching, for the next time we thought we were free. The story didn't end here. It had only changed direction, but together, we had faced the shadows, confronted the truth, and survived. And that, I realized, was the most powerful victory of all.